Michael Cohen has entered into a new plea agreement with the special counsel's office. He did that by admitting that he had apparently lied to Congress about the nature of a Trump real estate deal in Moscow. At a surprise federal court hearing earlier today in Manhattan, he admitted that he had minimized Mr. Trump's role in efforts to build a Trump Tower in Moscow and gave the false impression to Congress that the negotiations had ended in January 2016, just before the Iowa caucuses. In fact, he admitted today, the negotiations continued for at least another 5 months until June, which was just after Mr. Trump had clinched the Republican nomination. Mr. Cohen also admitted that he agreed in early May to travel to Russia for meetings on the project, and that he spoke to Mr. Trump about making the trip, despite telling congressional investigators that he had not done so, although to be fair, the trips never actually happened. So a lot of what he relayed on the record to Congress about this deal was actually not true, as we will get to soon. The same sort of messaging was also coming out of Donald Trump and other people from the Trump organization. Mr. Cohen concluded his statement in court by saying that he had made the false statements to Congress out of loyalty to the president, and so that he would not contradict Mr. Trump's political messaging. Well, that was a good choice. He did show loyalty to the president, so I'm sure the president will return it to him later today. Anyway, so look, pretty big bombshell. I mean, Michael Cohen has been in the news, guilty on a bunch of different charges that he's already pled to, but none of them had to do with anything foreign in nature. All of it had to do with paying off the alleged mistresses of Donald Trump, which is its own gigantic issue that has just been totally normalized, and we pretend it's not a big issue. But now it is something to do with Moscow, actually.
Yeah, so I mean that's the thing. It's still not. It still has nothing to do with colluding, right? Although it does, but it has Russia in the title.
Yeah, I mean the closest it comes to that is some of the communications from Felix Sater, the business associate of Michael Cohen, is Russian-born real estate businessman, talked specifically about trying to enlist help of Putin and his government to get, I think he says, our buddy boy president, but he's not in the Russian government, and there's no, I haven't seen any hard evidence that he actually did speak with Putin or that Putin was amenable to it.
Yeah, and it's not totally insignificant, because the idea, part of the idea of collusion, if it was any collusion, would be that Trump's interest in it wasn't just getting the presidency, but that part of what they would have over him was the forget the salacious stuff, but the need to get business deals done in Russia.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seems petty. I mean, that's what I said on the Damage Report this morning. Like, what businessman worth billions of dollars would regularly lie for 2 years about this just to have one more hotel? He's got tons of hotels. Yeah, but Donald Trump is a ridiculous person.
Yeah,
he's an irrational person.
And then there, guys who chase wealth. That's what they do. But to some extent, then the real compromat. And that's the first time I've ever used it, actually, in a sentence.
I don't like it, but
no, I don't like it either. But that's why I've hesitated to use it. Yeah. But again, to me, financial ties were a much bigger deal. Like, we know you have significant financial investments. You can get wealthy off this. We'll help you. This is a big picture conversation that never happened. But that will help you, and then you help us when you're in office, and then this works out. Everybody gets happy. That to me makes far more sense always than we have evidence of you doing something incredibly embarrassing, and so we'll help you, but then you obviously need to help us.
Well, from the very beginning, we'll
cover it up for you.
Yeah, from the very beginning, I felt, at least, and it's been mentioned, of course, that it's something to do with financial dealings. From the beginning, not getting his tax returns and having the most blatant. We know how blatantly dishonest those excuses were. Hey, I'm being audited because I'm the only man in history that's ever been audited. I'm the only guy with any kind of money in history that has been audited. So you guys don't know how it is. I'll explain to you later. Many quotes from Trump. I'll explain to you later, because you couldn't possibly understand what auditing means, because no one else knows what that means except for me and my attorneys. So I can't turn over any of my financial records, which would tell us maybe what kind of dealings he's had in the past, or at the time he was running with Russia, or trying to have with Russia, or something that would give Russia a reason, or anyone that's any Russian business dealings over there, any kind of connection to him. None of that was revealed. So from the beginning, just the sound of it looks like it was something financial, and it could have come across many spectrums. But a way to dispel that from the beginning is to show it, like everyone else has.
Well, we might actually have that in the near future. New Democratic majority coming into Congress, they will technically have the power to get that. We will see if the president will actually allow that, since he doesn't seem too interested in abiding by most of the norms of the presidency.
Just give me one thing, because what I like, you have Trump's reaction.
Oh yeah, we're gonna play several videos of his.
Do you have he was convicted with a fairly long-term sentence with things unrelated to the Trump?
Yeah. Well, why don't we go into that actually? So, what does Donald Trump think about the recent revelations from Michael Cohen? Let's listen.
He was convicted, I guess, you'll have to put it into legal terms, but he was convicted with a fairly long-term sentence on things totally unrelated to the Trump organization. He was given a fairly long jail sentence, and he's a weak person, and by being weak, unlike other people that you watch, he's a weak person, and what he's trying to do is get a reduced sentence. So he's lying about a project that everybody knew about. I mean, we were very open with it. So he's lying very simply to get a reduced sentence, okay?
So none of that actually makes any sense. So he says he's lying about something that everybody knew about. So when he was like a year ago talking to Congress and said that there were no conversations or anything, why didn't that stand out? If everybody knew that it was going on and he is going before Congress saying it's not going on, that would have been a big conversation at that point. No, not everybody knew about it. It was being denied, not only by Michael Cohen, but also, as we'll get to in a minute, with Donald Trump. Before we jump in, though, there's a little bit more that sort of flows from that. So here's more of the president.
He put out a statement talking about a project which was essentially, I guess, more or less of an option that we were looking at in Moscow. Everybody knew about it. It was written about in newspapers. We were thinking about building a building. I guess we had in a form, it was an option. I don't know what you'd call it. I decided ultimately not to do it. There would have been nothing wrong if I did do it. If I did do it, there would have been nothing wrong. That was my business. But when I run for president, that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to do business. I was doing a lot of different things when I was running. After I won, obviously I don't do business. Even if he was right, it doesn't matter, because I was allowed to do whatever I wanted during the campaign. I was running my business, a lot of different things during the campaign.
I was doing a lot of different things.
I mean, I don't understand people who don't. Cenk and I talked about this last night on Old School. I understand people who don't think he's dumb. Like I don't. Yeah. I mean, first of all, the first clip starts with he was convicted, or you have to put it in some legal terms, but he was convicted, right? I mean, he wasn't convicted. He pled guilty, and then what he's trying to do, he was convicted with a fairly long-term sentence with things unrelated to the Trump organization. Well, he wasn't convicted. He pled guilty, and he wasn't sentenced. And they were related to the Trump organization. But other than that, knocked it out of the park.
Yes.
I mean, there were really only 3 components to that sentence, and he went over 3.
Specifically, it was charged. I mean, I don't know if, I guess they're sort of related to the Trump organization, but they're definitely related to him. Is paying off his alleged mistresses.
Right, he pled guilty.
That's what he was doing.
In August, included information about his reimbursement by the Trump organization for payments he made or helped orchestrate to conceal allegations to women.
Likely violating campaign finance laws.
Yeah.
Which are just some of the laws that you're allowed to violate, and we're not supposed to care about it.
Absolutely everything that was previous. We've talked about it before, how hard it is to keep track of the number of lies that he committed during the time. Because again, we have to go back to even that aspect, the salacious stuff about whether or not he's been compromised, whether or not certain mistresses were paid off and everything. Those things have now been downgraded so much, like, okay, which one should we even worry about being concerned about at this point? But the number of things that come out, and all he has to do is say, it didn't happen. I could have done whatever I wanted. It gives you a window into people that probably speak to him on a private basis and go, so Mr. President, you probably can't do that. Remember the connection to his businesses that he said he was gonna release once he was president?
Yeah, right.
And how it was obvious that he wasn't gonna do that? So during the campaign, he said, I can do whatever I want when I'm running. What problem could it be? So if an advisor comes to him and says, hey, so candidate Trump, you, with this business deal that you're having with Russia, if nothing else, it could be seen as them having some kind of working relationship with a foreign government, which you've had issues with in the past, and it might be a bit of a quid pro quo situation happening, maybe. And you don't want that cloud over your head when you're making America great again for everyone else except for yourself. Yeah. It might conflict with what you're saying.
Yeah, so before we move into why this new information is really significant, I do just want to double down on one point where he kept saying there that everybody knew about this. Why are you guys acting like this is a big deal? Everybody knew about it. To be fair, we've known about it for some months because BuzzFeed News actually had a report that summarized most of this something like 6 months ago. He's implying that they were very open during the campaign about these deals. Well, Jayar went back and collected a few times where he spoke about this during the campaign. Let's see if what he said then matches up with his portrayal of it today.
I have nothing to do with Russia. I have no investments in Russia, none whatsoever. I don't have property in Russia. A lot of people thought I owned office buildings in Moscow. I don't have property in Russia. I mean, I have nothing to do with Russia. I don't have any jobs in Russia. I'm all over the world, but we're not involved in Russia. I own nothing in Russia. I have no loans in Russia. I don't have any deals in Russia.
Okay, so there you have some before, some after the campaign. Is that consistent with a guy who has no pending deals, is not trying to build a massive hotel there? It's not at all. And there's one more. This is the best, I think. I mean, this stood out as kind of ridiculous even at the time, but now in hindsight, it's even more ridiculous, Paul Manafort.
So to be clear, Mr. Trump has no financial relationships with any Russian oligarchs.
That's what he said. That's what I said. That's obviously what our position is.
I mean, it's so underrated. It's one of the great sound bites of all time. It's so unbelievably revealing because it's like, oh, Russian oligarchs. No, many of them. Yeah, he's got lots of relationships with Russian oligarchs. No, it was really, I love that. I forgot how great that is. I mean, and I'm not outraged by this. By the way, real quick, I think it's worth mentioning. And forgive me if you mentioned this, John, but I don't. That when Michael Cohen talked to Jeff Peggs of CBS News. He said that he called it a significant deal with proceeds that would lasted in perpetuity, would have included office, residential, and hotel space in Moscow. So again, lasted in perpetuity. It was a significant business deal.
Yeah.
I'm not outraged by this. Like again, if he were a normal functioning president and this tipped the I mean, obviously, if Barack Obama had done this, I'm pretty certain that the Republicans would move to impeach him. And I don't think that's being hyperbolic, right? But I would have said then, I got it. You shouldn't have a business deal to try and build a hotel while you're president, but I'm not so sure that it's the biggest scandal we've ever had if you were also a competent president. Right?
But like it's technically a bombshell. But at the same time, like I'm not one of the president's defenders. I've been following this news. We've already had everything we need to know.
That's right.
For months and months and months, we've known exactly what was going on. This is just additional stuff. But the interesting thing about this is that we have these new revelations out of Michael Cohen, the same week as the new revelations out of Paul Manafort. Why both this week? Why now? Why not before? Michael Cohen has been working with Mueller for month after month after month. Well, I don't know for sure that these are connected, but it is interesting that earlier, I guess less than a month ago, Donald Trump submitted his written answers to the questions that the special counsel's office had given him. So they got those answers. Trump is now on the record in a legally binding sense, and now they're revealing all of this stuff that they likely knew even before those questions were answered. That is what is more potentially damning for the president.
They're also, and clearly, and as most experts thought he would, most of those people who follow the Justice Department procedures and have followed independent counsel investigations, they were obviously they went dark before the midterms, and then the midterms are over, and now they were working. They just weren't announcing or showing up in court and having plea deals. What's most interesting, of course, is again, this is a separate plea agreement. Michael Cohen had already planned and agreed to cooperate. Here, he is entering another plea for telling a lie to Congress, and will cooperate further, which I always find interesting phrasing because it suggests that you were holding something back. I was lying a little before. I gave you a 73-27 truth lying spread. I'm gonna have to up it to 81 to 19 now because you caught me in another lie.
And let's be fair, I am Michael Cohen.
I am Michael Cohen.
Are you really surprised?
So I mean, where Trump's right is that he might be a weak person.
That is possible.
And also that he talked about how he has a track record. He said this in the first plea deal. Michael Cohen has a track record for lying. Who was he working for when he had that track record for lying, and why was he doing it?
What polls? What polls?
No, it makes sense. So then, like, at which point is he lying or not telling the truth? Because when he was lying, and then you guys said he was telling the truth when he was on your side, and now you're saying he's a liar. You have to, like, there has to be a continuation of your thought process. Which one is it? Is he a liar? Or is he dishonest? Is he a weak person? And why'd you keep him around, which I think they also spoke to him about today? It doesn't matter, just change the story for each question and people will just move right along.
Before we move on, can you just please, Play me clip 4 again. Can we have Paul
Okay,
Manafort?
let's have Paul Manafort
just one more time. It's so good.
So to be clear, Mr. Trump has no financial relationships with any Russian oligarchs.
That's what he said. That's what I said. That's obviously what our position is.
I mean, it is the best.
It sounds
ever.
like an idiot, but it's really a guy quick enough to know, no, that's going to be illegal. No, that's going to be illegal for me. That's going to condemn him.
Right.
Okay, what can I say?
Right.
That's what we said.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep
That's
with her.
what she said.
I didn't even sleep with her. I'm not even attracted to her. You just said you were attracted to her. What I'm saying, honey, is that what I'm saying, she, that's my position.
Nailed it.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.